A year ago, this printer completely killed my dream project. Constant clogs, failed prints, wasted time. I gave up. But today, I'm finally holding the finished helmet. And while this looks like a win, there are two critical things I need you to know if you're considering buying the S1 Max. One is about the Ace Pro 2. The other is fundamentals of the whole system itself. But before we can get there are two big questions any Cubic needs to answer. First, has the Ace Pro 2 actually fixed the issues from the Ace, which I believe were fundamental to the issues I had with the Kobra 3 Max? And second, how does this compete in a world where tool changes are starting to dominate? And honestly, I think that second one matters more than you might think. Now we're going to come back to the first one because it directly links with the things that I've mentioned. So, this is the Anycubic Kobra S1 Max. A fully enclosed, large format printer built for people who want big prints without spending a fortune. Now last year with the Kobra 3 Max, Anycubic basically owned the budget big category. This year, by launching a big enclosed printer, the competition is a lot tougher. The combo version, Printer plus Ace Pro 2, comes in at around £799.99, or slightly less if you use my code. Stack that up to £1,200 for the K2 Plus and the Bambu Lab H2S, and it's really significantly cheaper. If you get the multicolour system, it's £599.99 for a 350mm cubed enclosed 3D printer. It's not just the price either. Anycubic are putting a lot more focus into user experience this time, and the focus on a great user experience actually starts with the box. You lift it onto your workspace, unzip the bottom, and the whole top just lifts off. It's weirdly satisfying. Yes, apparently I'm the type of person who gets excited about packaging. This is who I've become. Inside, everything is tightly packed. Foam, braces, plastic supports screwed in place for the moving parts, nothing moving anywhere. The only slightly annoying bit, you have to install the handle on the top glass panel yourself. After that, plug it in, follow the setup guide, which is very clear, and you're ready to go. And before we get into specs, let me just show you something. The poop chute has moved to the side. And honestly, this is a massive quality of life upgrade, because while I love an awkward reach around as much as the next guy,
that's what she said.
It is a genuine relief not to have to scrabble around at the back of the desk to remove all that waste. Good design solves issues. Thanks, Anycubic. Now, inside the machine, you've got a 350 by 350 by 350mm build volume. A proper cube. That makes it slightly bigger than something like the 340 by 340 by 320 Bambu H2S, and exactly the same size as the Creality K2 Plus. Speed-wise, it's rated for 600mm a second, but honestly I didn't push it anywhere near that, because as usual I just kept everything stocked. As I have said a lot on this channel, printers should work like appliances, not like projects. Printer does come with a hardened steel nozzle as standard, which is capable of reaching 350 degrees C, and it's quick swap, which is always nice. And because it's fully enclosed and includes a chamber heater, the chamber can reach 65 degrees, which helps massively with materials like ABS and nylon. I didn't run any ABS projects so far, that'll come in the long-term tests, but I did print projector mount in ASA, which is similar, and that came out great. Cooling is also excellent on the printer, and it pulls in air directly from the outside with vents positioned around the chamber to keep things stable. So overall, on paper, this is a very capable machine. But specs don't tell the whole story, because once I started multicolour printing, particularly on the helmet, that's where things got really interesting. And this is where we need to talk about the Ace Pro 2, because what happened next ties directly into the biggest issue I discovered during this entire project. A little bit of a history lesson first. After the original Ace 2 Pro didn't go exactly to plan, Anycubic had to go back to the drawing board, and to be fair, they made some solid upgrades with the Ace Pro 2. We now have 4 independent motors feeding filament. There's a redesigned buffer system, which, if I'm honest, looks very similar to the old one, but internally it is improved. There's also an electromagnetic venting system to push moisture out, plus a seal around the lid to stop damp air getting in. And you can run the dryer up to 65 degrees while printing, which, if you live somewhere cold and damp, like in the UK, is actually really useful. So yeah, on paper, lots of improvements. But there are still some problems. It still struggles with cardboard spools, and the filament sensors don't really work properly with solid-sided spools because they rely on light, not pressure, which is a choice. And then there's the big one of the critical issues I mentioned earlier. It always felt right on the edge of failing, particularly when loading and unloading filament. Now, just to be clear and fair, I didn't get a clog and I didn't get a failure, but it always feels like one is just around the corner. and it made me nervous because I've been here before. When I first tested the Kobra 3 Max, it worked fine at the start. 4 months later, multicolour printing was basically unusable on that printer. So yeah, this is something that only long-term testing will really answer, and if you want to see how that plays out, well, you know what to do. And just like that, we come full circle. Now this is a full-size Stormtrooper helmet made by Galactic Armory. It's not sponsored, I paid for it, and it takes up basically the entire build plate. When I sliced it as a 2-colour print, the slicer estimated 68 hours of print time, which is already a lot, but fine. It's a big print, let's commit. I loaded up the Ace with Landu PLA filament, 1 roll of Chameleon Navy Blue instead of the black, because I really like it, and 2 rolls of white, just in case. Hit print, and let it run. And about 8 hours in, overnight, of course, it ran out of filament, and the Ace didn't switch over automatically. Apparently you have to manually enable that setting, which I hadn't spotted. So by the time I got back to it, I'd lost 12 hours of print time. To its credit though, once I fixed it, it restarted perfectly and carried on like nothing happened. But then, around hour 40, I started to get concerned because the print was only 30% done. And that's when it hit me. The time estimate was completely wrong. The print did finish, but instead of 68 hours, it took 122 hours. Add in the 12 hours of lost print time due to the little issue earlier on, and that's 134 hours of printing, or over 5 days to print 1 helmet, which is kind of insane, but this also explains why I don't have many prints to show off in this review. And that leads to the second major issue with this printer. First, I have no idea why the slicer estimate was that far off. If you have answers to why the slicer estimate was so far off, please let me know in the comments below. As you know, with FDM printing and all this sort of stuff, I'm still learning as I go, and I want this to be a community effort where we'll push forward together. But second, and more importantly, multicolour printing on this machine is slow. Like, really slow. Every single colour change takes nearly a minute to unload and reload the filament, and when you compare that to the latest tool changes, you really have to ask yourself, do you actually need the extra build volume if this is the trade-off? Oh, and one more thing. Obviously, the waste. Yeah, this is just from the helmet. So is the Anycubic S1 Max the redemption project that Anycubic needed? Well, actually, yes. Now the cons of this printer are it's really slow and generates massive amounts of waste, particularly when you compare it against multi-tool changes. But in my opinion, the pros are it looks absolutely fantastic. It's got a huge build volume of 350mm cubed, and it's at least £200 cheaper than the closest printer that's its equivalent. And that Ace 2 unit does work better than its predecessor, which is a great thing. Now obviously, with any printer review like this, there's a big old caveat in the fact that I've only had this for a month or so, and so I'm going to put this thing through its paces and just keep cranking out time and putting hours into the printer to really see where it falls down. So subscribe and come back to the channel for the 4-month review like you've seen on many other of my projects. So to sum it up in a nutshell, if you want a blazing fast multicolour printer, this isn't it. If, however, you want a printer that's under £700, enclosed and can print a Stormtrooper helmet in one go, this is your puppy. If you're looking for a smaller form factor printer that I really do recommend though, go and check out my review of the Kobra X. It should be on screen right now. And I'll just wrap up the video by saying a huge thank you to everybody who has subscribed, liked, commented under the video. You're all legends and I love you for it. But particular thanks to everyone who supports me on Patreon, joins in the chat over on my Discord, or comes to visit my events in person. I cannot thank you enough. You are all legends. So, I've been James, this has been RisingApe Minis, and I will see you next time.